Hello, my friends, my family, my community, my tribe. Welcome to the Hippie Moms Podcast. That's right. That's where you are. That's what you're listening to, the Hippie Moms Podcast. I'm your host, Becky Wells. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. This is the 12th episode. I have been loving doing podcasts. They're so fun. There's a couple things I love about it. Is one, I get to geek out about things that I love to talk about, which is so awesome because I'll tell you what, not everybody wants to hear what I have to say. But if you're here, then you do. And that's the beautiful thing about podcasts is you get to choose what information you want to ingest. And I'm just grateful that you're choosing to ingest this information. So this podcast is going to be kind of closing the loop on a little series that I did the past 7 episodes on basically us creating the optimal version of us and what that means and the 7 vital things. And we talked about air quality, water and how much to drink, the food we eat. Of course, I had to geek out on like 4 of those episodes about food because I love food. I love talking and teaching people about food. It's just an obsession of mine, and I really believe it being so important. Just on a side note, I had the opportunity to be a guest on a podcast today. And I'll tell you what, the beautiful woman who interviewed me, Patricia Lohan, is a feng shui master. She's, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. She's going to be on the Holistic Mama Summit, which is going to be launching in February 2021. So keep an eye out for that. It's really awesome. And I was and this kind of came to me this morning. I'm like, really, food, the way that I look at it is kind of feng shui for the body. Food is a life force. It's literally the fuel, the nutrients, the information that becomes who we are, that creates the cells, the skin, the brain, neurological pathways, and our organs, all these things that we are. That's what food becomes eventually. And so I had to geek out on that. And then we talked a lot about stress management and meditation. And I loved doing that podcast, sharing with you kind of my journey in meditation and why I think it's so freaking important. And the last one I just had was episode 11 was on movement and moving the body, movement versus exercise. And today we're going to talk about connection. And there are 3 areas I'm really going to focus on. One is going to be connection to nature, connection to ourselves, and connection to others. Now, I want to preface this. I'm not an expert with connection. I don't have a PhD in connection. But how I want to set this up is why I know more about what connection is because I know what disconnection is. I know a lot about disconnection. And one of the areas and times in my life that I look back now and see how disconnected I was about 10 years ago, prior to this awakening out of the matrix that I love to refer to. And it was this time where, I was living in believing the cultural lies and deception and believing that the food I was eating was safe, the products I was putting on my body was safe. I didn't really understand like a lot of what's happening in the world. I just thought everything was peachy keen, and I was just getting older, and I was just, of course I was going to have to take prescription drugs because that's what everyone else does. I was just following the status quo. And I feel that when, people that do that are disconnected from nature, and maybe they're not, and that's fine, but in my belief system, they are, because they are so disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from, where their food comes from, what they put in their body. In some ways, what is that movie? It's I'm gonna figure it out. Let me think what it is. I think it was a Pixar film. Oh, Wall-E. Did you guys see that? It was a really fascinating movie, and it was about basically the destruction of the earth. and there was this little robot on it, and he was on Earth, and he was basically set there to look for life on Earth. And he actually ends up finding a plant, and he meets this other robot, and he goes on this whole adventure, and he goes up to this big spaceship where all these people are. That's where all the people, and the people, all they're doing is they never exercise. They don't even move. They're in their hovering chairs. And they basically, like, if they actually fall off, they thrash around like babies. And then these robots come and help them up, get back in there, and they're just drinking like food out of a straw. It's like different color food. And then they have all these like screens, right? Like hologram screens all over them. That is literally the ultimate form of disconnection. Okay? And the way that we can look at it is, and this is how my life went. I'm gonna explain to you a day that I had, and kind of my normal day 10 years ago. Okay, and we're gonna compare it to the days that I have now, and how through the years, through baby steps, I've created a new way of living through these baby steps to being more connected, okay? And this is kind of like everything we've talked about is coming together, right? We're going to see how it's integrated now, and how once we can kind of see the bigger picture of how all these things, how the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, how we manage our stress, how all of this comes together to build this holistic lifestyle of connection, right? So my normal day 10 years ago is I'd wake up, and I wouldn't want to wake up. I didn't sleep very well. I always slept like crap. I'd toss and turn. My mind was going crazy. And it was either because I was drinking a lot. I used to drink a lot. I was in commercial real estate. That's what you do. That's the culture. You just drink a lot of alcohol with people, because that kind of doled out the longing of longing of not wanting to be in a purposeless job, sitting under a desk, the fluorescent lights for 8-9 hours a day with people that, they became your family, but you weren't connected on a spiritual level. It was all just about making money, and and I worked with a lot of men. So I just felt extremely degraded as a woman. I had to really like put on my masculine hat and really look past my soul's longing to be seen and heard for who I really was. I was totally not who I am today, or ever was, but it was this big facade I put on so that I could survive, right? I mean, that's what we do. We talked a little bit about our inner child and the stress management, and really what happens is we're told from an early age that who we are, what we are, isn't good enough. And so we start to build these walls and this whole persona to be the person that people want us to be, but then we're completely disassociating from who we really are. And so this is the process. We're dismantling belief systems here, my friends. We're dismantling a lot of things. Okay, so going back to my day. So I'd wake up, not excited for the day. I'd actually loathe my day. Hadn't slept. This is before kids. Hadn't slept. And I'd wake up. I would turn on the news, right? I'd always turn on the news right away. What happened? What's going on? What should I fear next? That was kind of the thing. I was like, well, what should I be afraid of? And I'd make some coffee, and I'd, put myself together. I'd put a lot of time and effort into my looks, because I wanted all the men in my office to be like, oh, Becky's looking good today, because I needed that validation. I needed men to think I was attractive for me to feel good about myself. It feels so sad to say that, but it's so true. I needed that so much because I was so freaking insecure. And the process of just sometimes it would take me an hour just to figure out what I was going to wear. And, it was so ridiculous. Now I've really come a long way. We'll talk about that in a second. But that's okay. That's where I was. I love that past self of me, because it shows me, it's really the dichotomy of who I am now. Then I would probably grab a piece of toast or something to eat, or maybe nothing. I'd go to the office. I'd call my friend Jackie and be like, hey, Jack, let's go get a coffee. We'd go and we'd get, some mocha latte, which actually just from drinking those sugary drinks from Starbucks, I gained 20 pounds in the first year that I worked in my job in commercial real estate, because I would just always have it. And then I'd grab a scone, of course. I'm sure that contributed too. And then I would sit there and I'd be at my desk, and my partners or people would already be in, giving me a hard time for not being in earlier or coming later, saying they had all these important things to do, which really I knew they just freaking sleeping in or, hanging out with their new girlfriend or whatever it was. And then I would just go about the day. I would eat and drink my coffee. And then about an hour later, I'd crash and I'd be starving. And so then I would either get some more coffee, or I'd have like a little bar, some granola bar or something that I would eat. And then I would, then it was lunchtime. I couldn't wait to get the heck out of my office. And I'd go, they had a local restaurant there called Houston's. It was so delicious. And I'd go eat, one of those big roast beef sandwiches with fries. And I'd go back to my desk and I'd be so bloated and gassy. This is so funny. I would literally be at my desk, like you're in cubicles next to people, and I'd be so gassy and I'd be holding it in. And sometimes I would just let it go. And then I would like totally fart. Because my body was so messed up, you guys. I would have gas and bloating. Like I had to bring like a big jacket to wear and act like I was cold, because my stomach would get so big and bloated of course I wore tight clothes with, stuffing my bra, because I'm like literally super flat. And it was just fake all over. And it was so funny because I would fart and then it would smell horrible. And then I'd be like, ew. Ooh, who did that? Right? Just totally lying, so kind of embarrassed, And then I would go to the bathroom, and let me tell you, that'd be TMI, but it wasn't good. I wasn't healthy, My bowel movements were so irregular. It was such a mess. And then, I was so tired after. I was just like, oh, and it's this day, and the day just dragged on and on and on. And then I'd finally leave at 5 o'clock. It was way too early to leave. You could not leave at 5, or everyone just looked at you like you were like the worst, worker in the world, and you're not going to go anywhere because you don't put the time in. So I'd wait till like 5:45, and like hopefully me to like go to the 6 o'clock yoga class. So I'd go to yoga, get my yoga on, feel the bliss, go home, have, either grab dinner on the way or, make myself something quick. And I thought I ate healthy. I ate chicken and veggies and, some potatoes, stuff like that. Nothing was sourced consciously at all, which is okay. It was what it was at that point. And then I'd go to bed and I'd start all over again. Or I would skip yoga and go to happy hour, right? And drink, 4 or 5 hours and go to bed hungover, wake up at 2, 3 in the morning. That sugar buzz, that's your liver saying, I got to process all this sugar for you. And you're getting up for it too. And then I would start all over, right? And the weekends would be full of binge drinking, partying, trying to stuff that void down. I was so disconnected with myself and what I wanted. And then I would spend all day, probably Saturday or Sunday, just on the couch, binge watching something. And then I'd start the week over again. It was a really sad existence. But you guys, I was making good money. All right. So that's my day. Okay. Now this is before kids. And I'm going to just preface that, through my journey, through my 10-year journey, and really my true awakening happened. I shared that story with you right after my first child was born. And my kids were really the awakening for me. But I still, through motherhood, had a lot of those days where I was very depressed and did not want to get up. A lot of postpartum stuff, which we'll explore more. But now I want to share with you my days now. Okay, I really do. I want to give you this stark contrast of that was my life in disconnection. Completely disconnected to my body, disconnected to myself, disconnected to family and friends. And most of my friendships were built on alcohol. Now, let me tell you, I had some beautiful friends. Oh my God, like the greatest friends. Friends that are listening now to these podcasts that are like so supportive and loving. And I'm so grateful that those connections are still going and that we knew each other back then when we were so disconnected from ourselves. So moving on today. So today, I wake up and the first thing I do is I say a prayer and I thank God, universe, my higher power, for another opportunity to be here today, to live my life, to breathe. And even though I might not wake up on the, bright sunny side of the bed every day, I still recognize that it's a gift to live. And that To me, I can't even if you just did that, I can't tell you how different your life would be, right? It's this acknowledgement that you have an opportunity to live again. And not everybody does. And we're not guaranteed another life. We're not guaranteed another day. We're not guaranteed another minute, another hour. And so really for that sun to rise and you to open your eyes is like saying, here you go. Here is another day. Here is the gift. Use it well. The next thing I do is I take some deep breaths. I just kind of check in with myself. Now I don't meditate in the morning. A lot of people say you should, but I don't. I love to sleep until the last possible minute. So I do my prayer. I wake up, and I get out to the kitchen and I drink a big glass of my morning detoxifying tonic. I'll put that in the show notes if you want that recipe. It's so good. I change it up, but it's pretty, I talked about this when I talked how vital water is for you. But I make a big glass of water. It has lemon and ginger and turmeric and cinnamon and cayenne, a little bit of coconut oil and pepper, and I put some MSM, and that's sulfur. And if that sounds like way super like, oh my gosh, that is so high maintenance, I totally get it. My husband, used to make it all the time. He's like, I'm over it. Just do lemon water, right? Or just drink water. Drink plain water, for goodness sakes. Just drink water. I mean, if you think about this, you're waking up and you haven't drank water for 7-8 hours, okay? So you hydrate, drink water. And the next thing I do is I go outside and then I put my feet on the earth. Now, I've been working with this woman. Her name is Dr. Louise, and she's taught me these little mind gems, she calls them. It's part of her proprietary system that she helps kind of wire the subconscious. So for me, I go put my feet on the earth and I do these mind gems. They're little like hand signals. I'm going to have her on the summit. I'm going to see if she'll share those as a free gift. But what I do is before that, and so this always changes, but I put my feet on the earth and I just put my hands out and I just feel the sunshine. I get the sunshine. And that's one thing, a lot of my experts are sharing with me on the summit when it comes to little things you can do for your health is get sunshine. Right first thing in the morning, it sets that cascade of beautiful hormones that are in alignment with that circadian rhythm, okay? So I get sunshine, I get my feet on the earth, and I just feel grounded. I feel connected. And then I get the kids up, make their lunches, and get them off to school. And then the next thing I do, once they're out of the house, I swear every time they leave, I'm like, woohoo! I really love my alone time. I'll tell you that. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I love being around my family. I love having snuggle time and quality time with them. But I also freaking love alone time. That is just it. I love it, especially now that I get to do my work and my podcasting and building my summit and all the other fun stuff that I get to do to live in purpose. And then the next thing I do is once they leave, I work out. I go for a walk, I hike, I do a yoga class, I get on my Peloton, anything I can do to move my body, that's what I do. I try to get it done in the morning because if I don't, then I will have to get it done in the afternoon and sometimes it's hard to do. So that's for me, I get it done and I always feel amazing. And then the next thing I do is I go take a really cold shower. Cold showers are so good for you. If you guys ever follow Wim Hof, do it. He's so incredible. It's really called cold therapy. It's really becoming super popular. It's really good for your mitochondria and your cellular health. So I take a cold shower, then I come into the kitchen and I make myself a beautiful breakfast. I roast up some, saute up a lot of veggies, different colors. I make a huge batch in the beginning of the week so then I can just munch on it the rest of the week for breakfast. A couple eggs, nutritional yeast. And I make myself either a coffee, if I'm on coffee. Right now I'm on matcha lattes, so now I'm doing that. And then I get to work. I go and I get to work and do the things I love. I get a podcast and share my story and geek out with people that love the same things I do and create relationships and summits. And I can't even tell you, like, my dream has come true. It really has. Now, there's so much in my life where it's not great. Right? I mean, please. I mean, my husband and I bicker a lot. You know, my kids fight all the time. I still am tired and just all I want to do is binge on Netflix. And you know what? Sometimes I do on the weekends. I'll do that. But instead of just kind of disassociating with those things, I sit in them and I feel them. And one of the things I've really started to know as being more connected, and what that means is connected to the emotions that we're feeling. So many times we feel something and we just disconnect. And this beautiful new friend of mine, Stacy, she's amazing. I'm going to have her on the podcast too. We were talking about this, and she kind of said this so eloquently in a way where she was telling me how when she feels these big emotions or certain things, this conflict, she energetically leaves her body. And I was like, girl, that is exactly what I do. I feel like I have this defense mechanism in very deep in me where I start to see conflict or feel things that I don't like, and I literally leave my body. And it's almost like I just don't listen or hear anything else that comes after that. And I think I developed this because I lived in a family with 2 brothers, a lot of male energy. My mom had to use a lot of her masculine energy. She was also in commercial real estate, and she had to really support us during a time that my dad was going through a horrible partnership breakup in his business. And it was just almost too much for me to bear. And so I really didn't have an opportunity to really express emotions. It was like I was kind of like the good little girl, and I had to be the good little girl. And so in order to do that and to play that part, I had to literally, my mind I had to leave my body and just be there, right? Not say anything, not speak anything. And that's what I do now. Even when I'm with my family and my brothers are there and they're being gross and just totally inappropriate, instead of being like, you know what, I really don't appreciate you talking like that or saying how I feel, I totally tune them out. And then then they ask me a question. I'm like, what? I did not literally hear anything you just said. So with that said, my work now is to stay in my body, to feel the emotions that are coming up and staying connected there. Because in so many ways, that inner child that we talked about earlier is saying, this is how I dealt with things. This is how I was taught to deal with things. And we keep doing that as an adult. We're not taught to be adults by adults. We are taught how to be adults by hurt inner children of our parents. And so they're still hurt, so we are hurt, and we just continue the cycle. And this is the whole point, right? As we wake up, as we choose to live a different path, whether you have children or not, it doesn't matter, right? We still have to heal. In order to heal ourselves, then we can heal the world. That's the only way we're going to do it. And so let's get back to this disassociation. So when we feel these big emotions, instead of stepping out of our body or that trigger and responding, right? Or yelling and doing what we normally do, it takes a notice. Even if it's a split second, you just notice and take a breath. Oh my God, that's amazing. I always celebrate those moments where I just take a deep breath before I, tell people how I really think. And when we can move from this place of just this connection, we say things and do things that are more in alignment with us, more in alignment with love, more in alignment with what we want to create. And so this is why I really feel it's so vital for us to stay connected. And so as we go back, right, what are we connected to? This is why I truly believe nature is so important. Nature, our connection with nature there's so much evidence that exposure to nature is good for our health, our well-being, our happiness. Nature holds us. Nature shows us that all is well. It helps us come into the present moment. We can breathe fully. We are surrounded by plants and animals and bees and flowers and all this beautiful energy, this frequency that holds us. And it helps us regulate our energy, our swirling and whirling and overwhelmment. It helps bring us back to a state of groundedness. That's why it's so important to get your feet on the earth and get that sunshine, because we are nature. Our body needs that to feel better. All right. So I cannot stress enough, get into nature as much as possible. Okay. We've been doing these little hikes with my family every Saturday or Sunday. where we just get out. I'll tell you what, those boys never fight when we're out in nature. We don't have our phones, my husband and I, we don't have any screens. We are with them. We are talking, having these funny conversations. It is the most beautiful thing. And every time we finish, we're like, we need to do that more. That was so much fun. Why haven't we been doing that, And thankfully, my husband's on board. He really is. Even if it's just a picnic at the park, or even if now, if you can't go to a park, go outside. Put a blanket down in your yard and have a little picnic there. Now, the next thing is connection to ourselves. And I really explained to you the difference in my days. And of course, that took me years to create a day like that, right? To create the day that I'm living in right now. It took me years to get there. But all I did to start was wake up and drink water, right? You just start somewhere. You start implementing something small every day, taking a couple breaths. Maybe you start meditating. You need to design your bio-individual life, your bio-individual day to reflect the day of that optimal self you are looking to create. And you do that by putting little things in every day. And I love this concept. It's addition by subtraction, okay? You add good things, the things that no longer serve you will fall away. They do. It's awesome. They just organically fall away. So connecting to yourself, designing a day, finding things that fuel you, like moving your body, eating good food, nourishing yourself. And we talked about this a little in the food element, is being connected to your food, being connected. Either you grow a little herb garden, or you go to the local farmer's market, or you find local people that are creating beautiful, nourishing food, and you support them and you take that in, because it's all energy. It's life force, right? So staying connected and moving your body is so important. That's how you get rid of all the stress hormones, and you start to get really yummy, delicious, feel-good hormones that your body needs. And we are wired like that. You know why our body gives us beautiful hormones to move? It's because we need it. It rewards us. There's always a reward system, okay? And the last thing is connection to others. And this is we're going to get into this a little bit. I think I need like hours to talk about this, but I'm going to kind of go over my thoughts on our connection to others. I really do believe the biggest thing keeping us from connecting with others are our phones and screens. I really do. And I'll tell you what, you guys, I struggle with this a lot. I really do, because, screens are definitely a crutch for me. On weekends where I want to do my thing, I want to clean, I want to get work done, I want to do this, I'm kind of like, here, instead of dealing with you kids, I'll just put you on your screens. I know that sounds horrible, but I'm just being honest and real here. But I'm going to give you two kind of, different examples of my days. One completely disconnected, the other connected. Okay. So, a couple Saturdays ago, and my husband's been a little stressed at work. He's got a lot on his plate, and he's got a big job to keep us keep food on the table and to do all the things that support this lifestyle that we've created together. And he just had to work. He had to work that day, and I was like, God, I do not want a whole day with my kids by myself. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let them get on their screens. So I let them, they got up in the morning, we had breakfast, and I was like, all right, you guys can watch your screens for a while. Rylan went into the game room and just shut the door, and Ryder went into his room and put his headphones on, and they were literally, it seemed like 20 minutes. 4 hours later, I was like, oh, shit, I got to get these kids off. Get them off their screen. It's a huge struggle, a huge fight, right? Huge fight. And they are just lit up, everything's boring because they've been stimulated for 4 hours. So now I'm like, I've created these monsters that I have to deal with. And I was like, all right, this is fine. What are we going to do? So eventually, so about 30 minutes, it took about 30 minutes for them to kind of calm down. And then, you know what? We started to play games together. We went outside. We just started to do things together. And I was like, wow. Now, do you have to do this all day? No. But I'll tell you what, I felt so disconnected from them. They go to school all week long. After school, I try to have like play dates or things for us to do. And I just feel like, here's my weekend opportunity, and I get mom guilt. Like, I'm just going to put on the screen all day. So after spending like 4 hours. Okay, so 4 hours on screen, 4 hours together. I could not tell you how joyous I was. We had so much fun. They weren't fighting, but here's the thing. I put down my phone. I did not get on my phone once to do anything. We swing in the hammock. Rylan played football. Ryder and I wrote poems. Then we played, more games together. We made food together. It was heaven. It was amazing. Now, the thing is, I'm going to be honest, some days they're on their screens all day when Scott and I have a lot of work to do. And it's now because of, this virus, there's not much to do. A lot of people are kind of, they don't want to hang out and they don't want to have my kids over to their house, which is so sad. So here's the dichotomy in one day. So as a mother, we can't expect to be entertaining our kids all the time, but what's happening is our kids are so quote unquote bored that we just give them the screen to help them. But boredom is one of the most important things for us to experience because it creates connection within ourselves. We get to think. We start to become imaginative. We start to think of ways to entertain ourselves. Where if we just have screens, we have that instant gratification, high stimulation, and it literally rewires our brain. So, yesterday we got home from school, and we do 2 days of detox. We do 2 days of no screens at all. And this was not a screen detox day. But I'll tell you what, the kids, because of the day before, the kids didn't get screens. They waited 2 hours until after school to ask if they could watch something. I was so thrilled. And during that time, I was kind of I kind of want them to, because I kind of want them to get on screen so I can start, doing things that I need to do, just not being disrupted. And then here's the thing. This is what I did. I said, you know what? I'm going to go find something to do with them. And so instead of having, focusing on dishes and laundry and all the things, you guys, all the things will be there. You don't have to get them all done. And I'll tell you what, if you leave your laundry in the basket long enough, your husband will fold it. Or maybe someone else will fold it. Or maybe your kids will just go find their clothes in it and then they'll end up, it's like the never ending pile of things to do. You're never going to get them all done. So it's okay to put them off. It's okay not to do them. And also it's okay to do them, right? We have to find where are we feeling guilty and giving ourselves grace in those spaces. And so what I did is I just stopped everything and I was like, hey, Rylan was playing. He's so cute, my eldest. He'll play football with himself and he'll run plays. He's obsessed with football. He's such an incredible football player. It just is so sad that he doesn't have sports as an outlet right now. And then Ryder, my youngest, I was like, hey, do you want to go swing in the hammock? And we sat in the hammock for 30 minutes. Again, we do this every once in a while, and we did the humming game where we try and guess what song the person's humming. We wrote a poem about socks, which I actually posted recently, yesterday. And it was beautiful. It was magical. And it's just we need to slow down. Okay? So that's where we're coming to right now, slowing down. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts that we've received during this time of this quote unquote virus is this time to slow down, to reflect, to stop being stimulated all the time and sit, drink a cup of tea. And we have to show our children that we're slowing down because it truly teaches them. Do we want our kids running around like chickens with their heads cut off? No. Right? We want them balanced and enjoying life and taking time to just be. So if there's a couple things that you are going to get out of this podcast or some tips of life tips that I can highly recommend that have greatly contributed to me creating days, the days that I love to live now, right? I already shared with you my hell days. But my days now of what I love to live, and it's get out in nature. It's going to give you clarity. It's going to help you have epiphanies. It's going to clear your mind, your energy, and your whole physical body. And you're going to connect with what you are, and you are nature. You are that. Connect with yourself in the morning. Take some deep breaths. Do something for yourself daily. Take care of yourself. Really start to implement things in your life that care for your beautiful soul home, mama. Fill your cup, okay? And put down your phone. Last thing, put down your phone. Get off of the device. Clear your mind, spend time with the people you love, look them in the eye, and deal with your shit. Deal with the emotions that come up. Stop leaving your body, stop pressing them down, feel them. And as you begin to feel them and your body gets to process, you can eventually let that go, okay? I hate the word let it go. You don't let it go, you move through it. You got to feel it. Okay. Wow, that was a long podcast. So excited. I'm going to quickly, because I wanted to tie my mentors in here. I think one of the most pivotal things in my life was to really connect with people that have influenced my life and my shift. And the thing is in the beginning, I felt like having a mentor is going to cost a lot of money, and it's really hard to find, but I'll tell you what, you just set the intention out there. That's one thing I used to say in the morning is, please lead me to those that can show me a better way of living, that can show me to get out of my own way. And one of the mentors that I'm actually going to be having on my podcast is my friend Carrie Keller. She was living this lifestyle way before I even knew. I have some funny stories. Hopefully we'll talk about those in the next podcast or in a podcast soon to be released. But she's been a huge influence of mine, and she was a friend. I didn't have to pay her to be my mentor. She guided me in ways that I could never imagine. So I think it really shows you to really surround yourself with people like that you want to be like, or that you want to resemble, or that you see something in that you want to embody in your life. Stop spending time with people that take your life force. There was a huge transition for me in my life where I really just stopped spending time with people that I just felt drained after. I'll tell you what, if we spend time together and I feel drained, we won't be seeing each other, right? We need to lift each other up. We need to be there. And it's not about, just being fake and talking about good things. It's about getting real and deep and connected. And that's one thing I just loved about Carrie, is she really helped me look at things differently. The next mentor that's had a huge influence on my life is my friend Angela Ferrari. She is the creator of the Shift process. I've mentioned her a few times in here. I went through her process and it was life-changing. She really showed me the blockages that I had in my life. And sometimes it's hard to see that, you guys, because there's one thing, and I hope as you listen to this podcast, you don't get hung up on what you were doing wrong before, right? Because I don't want to focus on, this is what you're doing wrong. It's not about that. But we don't ever like to see what we're doing wrong. But we have to be honest and real and examine our lives. And she helped me do that. She helped me really examine my life, really focus on what it is that I want to create. And I'll tell you what, it was 2 years ago I went through the process, and what I wanted to create during that time is now manifesting. So finding people that can truly help that are honest with you, and that you can listen and help be guided by is enormous. And so those are the two mentors I'm going to mention today. But I just want to really share and express that, to be connected also means being connected with people that you admire and that you want to be like, rather than people that just suck that life energy from you. Okay? All right, let's wrap it up. I love you guys. Stay connected with nature, with yourself, with others. Put down your phones, get in nature, breathe, love yourself. You are an incredible human being, and you deserve to live the divine life you're here to live. You just got to get out of your own way, okay? All right, thanks for listening, you guys. I cannot wait to connect again on the next Hippie Moms podcast. Love you, bye.